My name is Qasar. I am one of the partners at YC. Previously, I had a couple of startups, the second which was acquired by Google, and I was at Google for a few years. And then before then, I'm a engineer MBA. That's my kind of full background.
Cool. Well, tell us about kind of, transitioning to be a partner and generally for you, what's the most exciting thing about being an investor?
I've been a builder the rest of my career. It is a big transition, I think, between being, on the product side and then being on the investing side. But in the sense of, I think when you're building a product, you focus on something for 1 to 5 years, many years on trying to refine something. An investor, it's very different in the sense that you're looking at a lot of different ideas, a lot of different markets, a lot of different user bases. And I think so you have to that's one adjustment you have to make. You have to be mentally much more flexible. Secondly, I think you also have to wear a different hat in the sense of when you're making product, you very much think about you're making it. You're the lead. When you're investing, you can't make it. You have to see. You have to really step back and say, you know, can this founding team actually execute on this vision and kind of leave yourself out of the picture and say, could they do this, themselves without because I think that's just a tendency you have as you make so many. If you're a maker, you have a tendency to think like, oh, I would do it X, Y, and Z, but they have to do it. I think that's different. It's exciting because I mean you get to work with you, some of the most interesting people in the world working on some of the most interesting things in the world. So it's whereas when you're building something, it's very narrow, just to your own thing. So different, but yeah, I think it's pretty fun.
Awesome, cool. So you mentioned you hear all these different pitches. Like when you first get pitched, this happens, thousands of times for you in a year. Like, what are the general things you're looking for when you first hear a pitch?
Um, I guess I don't try to think of it as like a pitch receiving kind of relationship. I want to have a conversation if it's in person, or one of our interviews. Um, there broadly what I look at is number one are these founders smart and determined? Probably more determined than smart, but both of those things. Are they thinking about the problem in a unique way? Your light just turned off.
Yeah.
They're thinking about the problem in a unique way. I would say the second thing um, is the problem actually the solution actually solving a real problem. If it's not solving a real problem, then you might have kind of a product which isn't going to be demanded by a lot of people, and that's probably an early indication. So one, I'm looking for are these determined smart people? Two, is this really solving a real problem that I can see, not necessarily experience, but I can see that they say, okay, there's a market, and for these reasons they're having these problems. Um, and then I think it gets to like, is there, which is a little mix of the first two, but is this team's particular approach seem viable? And I think what's different between early stage or late stage investing is early stage, you're really looking at trying to figure out, does this make sense for step one and step two? Because you can always talk about what the product will be when there's 10 or 20 or 30 million users, 100 million users, but how do you get the first 100,000 users? How do you get the first 10,000 users? How do you get the first 1,000 users? And are the two or three or four people sitting across the table really two or three people sitting across the table? Do they have that capability to get those first 1,000 users? Is it in their is it in their skill set? So if all of that checks out, um, you made it into probably a good state of, okay, let's dig deeper and see if there's something that's worth investing to. But I would say that that's what's required at the door.
So almost even more than the actual content or the idea itself, when you're first hitting the pitch, it's more evaluating the founders. Are they smart? Are
It
they?
is, but these things are not in a vacuum. The idea says a lot about the founder, and the way the founder interprets the idea, is an assessment of their intelligence and determination. So yeah, these things are not just like in a vacuum. Are they determined? Are they smart? Is this a good idea? I don't think it's like that. I think it's really a mix. Um, I know at YC, my own thinking is, I think before I was just really 100% founder oriented and just thought, okay, well, the idea is kind of secondary. And I think that's slowly changed. I feel I am more market sensitive, I would say. Uh, what that really means is like, is this idea going to serve a lot of people and going to be a good business? Um, because sometimes even good founders will not find a good market. And so I think that's kind of the next level of filtration. It's like, first, are these founders good? And then it's like, are they working on a good idea, serving, a real problem?
Cool. So you spoke about kind of intelligence and determination being the two primary ways that you evaluate teams, and you
Yeah.
said determination might even be more important than intelligence.
Yeah.
Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah. It's a long, I mean, most startups are a long slog. You're talking about, 5 years, 8 years. And so the founders have to have the skill sets in order to work on one problem for that period of time. Um, Determination also, I think if you like break apart what determination is, like even to a finer degree, I think determination is both the the resistance to be slowed down by obstacles. It's enthusiasm to for the mundane. It's appropriately being aggressive at the right part of the cycle. It's kind of like if you're driving a car fast, you should be putting your foot on the accelerator at the right time. If you put it too early in the turn, you lose control. If you put it too late, you lose lap time. You lose seconds in the race. And so it's really applying aggression at the right time. And then I would say the last thing about determination is having perspective, that what you're going through immediately is not the end all be all. I think those like four things combined create like what is a determined founder. And because when you're talking to founders, you're not like, oh, I want to go through like, are they appropriately aggressive? Are they appropriately enthusiastic? All of these kind of mix together into this generalized term we use, which is being determined. But I think for me, those are probably those are more finer qualities I'm looking for.
Awesome. So that's kind of the high level of what you're looking for in a founder. When you actually get to the point where, it's beyond just hearing the pitch. Maybe this is
And it's
second time around.
founders, I
Yeah,
would say,
founder.
I think it's a single founder. And so the other important thing is their interactions with each other. And are they, does this seem like a team, or does it seem like a guy who has two employees or a girl who has two subordinates? And that's very different than a true partnership of the three people sitting together. And, there's a leader, of course, there's a CEO, but they seem like a unit,
Say a
right?
little bit more about that. Like if it is a kind of founder with some employee type of relationship, why is that a negative signal for you?
Because it's hard. And in an ideal situation, um, well, I would say in most situations, you there's one person is not going to be able to bear all of that work and that stress and the pressure and the very different skill sets required. Um, so in that scenario where you have like lots of skill sets and there's a lot of pressure, this is much easier and is much more easily kind of taken on by three people than one. And because when there's pressure, and especially if you're not doing well, if they're employees rather than partners, then there is less commitment from the employees to see this through, even in the darkest times. And there is less kind of deference when mistakes are made and saying, look, we actually did go down the wrong path a few months ago, and now we've learned. That's good. When you're partners, everyone kind of feels like we're in this together, and we sink or swim together, rather than when things are going bad, I'm an employee, I'm going to go find something else, or I'm the supervisor, and I will blame the employee for doing that. That model, I think, just doesn't work. It doesn't work generally in management, but it also doesn't work, especially when you're starting to create something that requires a lot of different skills, and there's a lot of pressure over a long period of time.